often in a charity shop they'll have a shelf life as well, so some in our local area are just 2 weeks, and if a toy doesn't sell in 2 weeks, they're gone.
Where to?
Yeah!
Hello and welcome to Green Queens, the perfect podcast for imperfect environmentalists.
With me, Abbie Dewhurst.
And me, Imogen Bhogal, and our wonderful guest. Hello.
Who I feel like we can only describe as like the Dalai Lama / Florence Nightingale of the teddy bear world.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
it. I've never had that introduction.
Good.
No, I'm here for it. From now on, that's all I'll accept.
Charlotte, welcome to Green Queens.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
We are so excited to be here, and we have had such a wonderful time nattering, and I feel like we need to get all of the listeners on the same page. So can you kick us off by telling us who you are and what you do?
Yes, so I am Charlotte, or the Fluffy CEO as I'm also known, and I'm the founder of Love Before, who are a stuffed animal rehoming centre, rehoming agency, and what we're doing is challenging the behaviours and attitudes that sit around toys and how millions and millions each year are ending up in landfill. And so from my living room floor a few years ago, I created a new model that allows us to re-love and reuse the ones that we have. And we're sitting here now in front of one of our workshops where the team work in our kind of stuffy spa and repairing and reloving them back to life so they can go back into circulation and try and, you know, create a brighter future within the industry.
I just feel like the story behind how this company even came about is so wholesome. And it literally, we were talking about it on the way in the car and I was like, this is a Disney film, and if Disney aren't going to make it, yeah, we should make it. Okay,
Yeah,
we've got
honestly.
Chris, he's got his cameras. So just tell us about how the story came about.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like there were a lot of things in my life that kind of led me to being here. You know, I always had my own little circle of stuffed animals that were my board when I was younger, and my sounding board, and best friends, and they all had their own names and characters and things, so I was always that person. But I think what that meant was that then when I was working in a charity shop a few years later, I basically begun to notice how many people were bringing in toys as donations, and often how those were really big moments for those people. These were best friends and their secret keepers. And the process as it was that they were thrown into a box and sold for pennies, and the memories and the stories that they came with were just forgotten. They were thrown into a box, or they were thrown straight out the back door, unfortunately, because all of these, you know, charity shops are so overwhelmed themselves. And so I said, okay, well, if this is the deal here, then maybe it's a bigger problem. And I went home that night and I, you know, sat on my laptop and I covered the wall in these crazy post-it notes and scribbles and facts and all of this. And I said, okay, we've got to do something about this. This is a big, big problem. And at about 4 a.m, I just went, okay, I think I've got it. I'm going to start this thing called Love Before, and I'm going to save the world one teddy at a time. And here we are, doing our best.
But fast forward to today, and when we were on the way here, Abbie was like, so, you know, pretty big people are Blake Lively has just, you know, reposted.
Yeah, we have some crazy, you know, people that have come across us, I think, on Instagram include Blake Lively, Paris Hilton, Tyra Banks that follow us, and Brie Larson. We went to hang out with her earlier this year after she came across us and fell in love with the brand.
My God.
Yeah, huge amount, because the truth is most people have a teddy bear,
Yeah.
or they have a best friend that's at their childhood home or sits on their bed and waits for them to get home at the end of the day. So it's something that it just doesn't matter who you are, but you can relate to it, you know, and you get it.
Not only have you built this amazing brand that is doing amazing work, but you've also totally nailed the social media. I first came across you on the talk and was like, oh my God, I think I cried watching one of your videos, and then I was like, okay, I need to talk to this woman behind this company who's making these incredible, like, Pixar-like animations of these bears that would have ended up in landfill, and all this incredible footage of stuffing and the storytelling that you've done alongside it. That is a skill in itself.
Thank you.
Not only are you the fluffy CEO and are running this amazing company, but I feel like you're also, like, totally nailing the advertising and the social media and stuff and getting your message out there. How many years has this business been running now?
So we're a little over 5 years old.
And you are in Selfridges,
Bloomingdale's,
maybe
some
a
other
few more
places.
pending
coming soon.
Yeah.
There was a couple of like eyebrows raised because like we said one off camera that we're not
said one
allowed to
off camera.
say.
Exactly. But yeah,
how when you actually sit down and think about what you've achieved, how do you feel about it?
I don't have the time to sit down and think about it often.
I'm asking you now.
I have moments where I go, oh gosh, that's quite a thing. Like this month, I just made a video on this. We spend £0 on ads, which is quite a phenomenal thing in this day and age.
Wow.
Yet the last 30 days, we've got just on Instagram alone on one of our accounts 2.6 million views, and half of them have been new followers who didn't follow us before and are discovering us. And it really is like, this whole brand is about storytelling.
Yeah.
It's about putting something out there that people connect to on an emotional level far before you ever try and put something in front of them as a product or a service. And that's kind of how I decided from the start. When I launched this, it was like, okay, well, before I put a product up for sale, I'm going to build a community. And I think that community first kind of concept is such a powerful one to go with, and something that I always kind of recommend. But yeah, we've achieved some big things. It's quite surreal, to be really honest. I have moments where I'm overcome by it. We did a lovely trip last Christmas with the team to kind of celebrate all the hard work just after kind of the Christmas craziness. And I think I got there and just had a moment and was like, this is my team who are just actually working on this funny little post-it note idea that I had one day that's totally made up and I have no idea what I'm doing. But here they are, and here are all the amazing things we're achieving.
But somehow it struck a chord, and I think what's so fascinating, and you mentioned it there, is community, but it's also the emotional story. And quite often when we throw things away as a society, we don't have that emotional connection. But there is a reason that stories like Toy Story strike a chord with everybody.
Totally.
And even throughout this discussion, I'm picturing Marshmallow, who was my childhood teddy, and like how magical Marshmallow was. And my sisters were a bit older and they'd do voices for Marshmallow, and then everyone has that, and that's why it kind of, not only is it a valuable business, but I think it can help people think about what happens when you throw something away, and how do you feel differently about throwing things away when that emotional connection is there.
Yeah, I think that was the initial kind of the springboard for the idea, was if we can challenge the perceptions and change the perception of these things being rubbish, then that's where the magic of the transformation happens, and that's where we can change things. And that is through the emotion, which I observed was already there. These people were already feeling things, handing those toys over, and that wasn't being supported.
But it's interesting that obviously your first touch point really was trying to work in a charity shop. Well, you were working in a charity shop, and people bringing them to the charity shop probably also thinking, well, at least this isn't me chucking it away, whatever away means. This isn't going to go to landfill. This is going to go to somebody else. But actually, it's not as straightforward as that.
No, it's not.
And that's what you found.
It's what I found, and that was one charity shop, but what I found is that's every charity shop and in every country
and
across
they just
the planet.
Can't take them, or they just can't sell
take
them.
They don't have the infrastructure and setup to clean, repair, do the safety checks that we do, and the packaging around it, which takes it from that 50p charity shop thing to this totally different proposition. And it allows it to go back into the mainstream. But often in a charity shop they'll have a shelf life as well, so some in our local area just 2 weeks, and if a toy doesn't sell in 2 weeks, they're gone.
Where to?
Yeah.
It's best not to ask.
Best not to ask.
Yeah, it's best not to ask, because these materials don't break down, and they have to be disposed of often in really horrific ways.
And they're all, don't listen, it's not going to happen to you.
You're the lucky one.
For anybody listening, I have brought a load of old toys. We have a Bagpuss, we have a Sully, and we have a Boo off of Monsters Inc. So that's why we're cringing at the thought of these bears hearing this horror story. Don't worry, we brought you to a safe place. And so what will you do with these guys?
So we will fundamentally check them in, and kind of you do like an initial sort of triage, where obviously the stuffy spa is made of a load of different processes. Each toy, as you can imagine, that comes in is a different size, make, species, material, age, condition, etc. And so we'll kind of work out what they'll need and sort of group them off, check them in, and then they'll work through the spa, so they'll get a thorough clean and refresh, and kind of welfare check, as I like to put it. and whatever they need fundamentally, and they'll be kind of thoroughly checked on the safety side. They'll be given a new little tag with our gorgeous little landfill poem on the back. If they go online, they'll have their own little photo shoot and they'll be kind of celebrated in that way, put on our website where they're adopted off around the world. If they go into our retailers, they'll be packaged up and sent there, and they all kind of come beautifully packaged along with their story. So often people donate them along with a story so that gets to stay with them and remain and influence the next person who's going to rehome them. And if not, then we'll create one here. We have foster bearers who come up with stories.
This is so great. I want to be a foster bearer.
You'll have to go through thorough checks though.
I hope so.
Yeah. So they'll all go with a story, a little bio, a name, an identity, and it's about, like, I phrased it the other day, reassigning the importance that they never really lost. And I think that's, if we can do that with secondhand all over the place, then we'll win. So.
And you know, it's so interesting because not only obviously are people who are donating these getting that assurance that these are going off to a good place, but actually the people who are purchasing them, imagine saving up your pocket money and being really invested in the story. I mean, Labubu's, for all of their challenges and problematic side, they understand the story and how to get people so invested in thinking about that purchase. And you're doing that here. It's so cool.
Yeah, and there's a special place in my heart for the children who spend their pocket money on Love Befores. We actually try and kind of base some of our ranging around that. So we have like a pocket money pals kind of thing where, you know, they're at a lower price point and children can spend that pocket money on them. But I think what you can teach a child through the medium of a teddy bear is so powerful. And what we're telling them about in terms of pre-loved things and bringing things back to life is so important. So if children are doing that from a young age, then that's
and also the
amazing.
care, you know, look, this bear has been loved, it's been brought back to life and spruced up a little bit, and now you really need to look after it as well, so that the next person after you and the next person after that, and this bear can in 200 years time still be loved. I think that's such a nice messaging for children. And we are aunties and have various friends that have babies and things, and that, in terms of, you know, Christmas is, crikey, fast approaching. What do we want to buy them? Do we want to go to a random shop and buy a jelly cat thing or whatever it may be? No shade on jellies, whatever they are. I've heard the phrase once or twice. Beanie Bears were all the rage when I was little. And it just feels so, I don't know, it feels thoughtless. It feels like you've put no thought into that gift whatsoever. Whereas buying a loved before bear, they come beautifully packaged. It's something that you can never even get out. You know, I used to love collecting things when I was little. So you could have 3 or 4 loved befores on a shelf, on display, and they would look so beautiful.
And they're all one-off. You're getting someone a gift that no one else in the whole world could possibly ever give them.
Yeah.
Like,
you have
totally
nailed this. I just can't get over. Why didn't I think of this?
That is the line I hear the most, honestly. That is the line I hear the most. Simple.
But I think what's also amazing in all of this is that you're having a profound impact. People have been like, wow, this is such a good idea. Why doesn't it exist? But you are one business who can, you know, do your bit, but it like kind of showcases just how huge this problem is.
Totally.
And I wonder if there are things that you've like identified of, okay, this bit in the process is really broken. This is how we could fix this problem in a bigger way.
I actually think it starts on a like legislation level. We need manufacturers and designers of toys to be thinking of things beforehand. For example, we have so much data and insight around the kind of things that limit the resaleability of a toy. Okay. For example, if a toy has a date on its paw, 2012, it will be much harder to, it will be much longer and harder to find a new home, right? And so really putting the things in place in the first place to make people think, okay, if this could impact how easily this toy is resold once its first life is gone, then maybe I won't add that embroidery on the paw. Or, you know, I'm a brand that needs to quickly pump out 500 for a marketing campaign. They're all going to be wearing little branded t-shirts. How about I don't? How about there's a way for me to go to a place like Love Before where I can, they might not all look the same, but does that matter in the first place? So I think, you know, and I'm sure one day I'll be, they've actually spoken about us in Parliament before.
What? Oh my God.
Specifically,
that's amazing.
And because I was awarded what's it called? Point of Light Award, which like comes from the Prime Minister, and it was hand delivered by an MP who was then so inspired. He went off and it was like the topic
Charlotte
of
for PM.
Conversation.
Also, when you said it was delivered, I really had this vision of like horses would arrive and like
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
That's how it can be in my imagination.
I think that kind of like big decision-making legislation level is the first, and I will one day be campaigning for that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a minute.
Yeah, you are a little bit busy. And again,
busy.
we were talking before we started recording. The team, I came here a year ago and we worked on a little piece for the BBC.
Yes.
And then immediately when we set up the podcast, I was like, Charlotte's at the top of the list. And it's just been a case of trying to pin you down.
I'm sorry.
And then the team, even since last year, has probably doubled in size. Like it
Maybe
is
more,
bigger. Yeah, it is.
tripled maybe.
Tell me how that has come about. And your partner Alex is also working as a big part of the
bless
team as well.
He manages a lot of the everyday team who span now not just the UK but also America, because we've just launched in the US in a very lean way, mind. And I think I feel so privileged that it's never been a struggle to find incredible people to join our team. We actually had to set up a section of the website where people, even when we're not hiring, like now, each and every day we can receive up to 20 submissions of people who are saying, I want to work for you, I want to volunteer for you, how can I get involved, I need to be part of this somehow. And so, you know, before we even advertise anything in terms of roles, we look through these huge lists of incredible people that have already sent in and shown their interest, and people move to the other side of the country to work for us. And Mally on our team, who's just in there at the moment, she lives a few hours away, but each week she stays over here in like an Airbnb type thing, and she stays half the week here. And people care, they care as much as I do, and that's always been so magical. I love hiring people.
Yeah.
I love finding magical people. I really do.
And what's it like then knowing that there was... Did you ever imagine that you would one day be a CEO and that you would kind of run a team like
I
this?
still don't imagine it now.
Yeah.
I'm just Charlotte. I'm just literally cracking on. I've still got no idea what I'm doing, but we all kind of have no idea what we're doing together. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you have to just be bolshy and slightly insane. I think, how did I phrase it the other day? You have to kind of say, I know that everything in your life tells you that 2 + 2 = 4, but I think it's 164. And you have to find these people that are kind of like,
okay,
it equals 4, but we believe you, it's 164. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it works. And, you know, we're sort of super collaborative, and we feel like we're on a proper big adventure together, because this is not a normal business, and it's not one that's ever been done before, and it's a lot of breaking things and breaking systems to rewrite new ones and working it out. And we're constantly faced with disaster and problems we don't feel like we can overcome, but together we just do.
Yeah.
And we will.
One thing that Abbie and I often say when we come away from interviews like this is like, why can't we sew? I feel like we probably say that once a fortyear for each other.
It's ramping up to once a week. In fact, my new thing is, why can't I tuft? I want to learn how to tuft.
I can't have that one.
It's yesterday, and I was like, okay. Okay, yeah. Sure,
we
Abbie.
spent as much time talking about the skills that we wish we had to just learning it. Then like you say, we always come away thinking, why can't we do that? But thankfully, there are companies out there, people like you, who are like, don't worry, you don't need to worry about that. Life is stressful enough. Send it to us, and we will do that.
Yeah.
But I also think there's it kind of points to the fact that there are many people out there who don't have those same sort of tangible, crafty skills.
Yeah.
Many people who do, but many people like us who are useless. And I'm curious to know how you got into kind of that world and that sort of creativity and that side of things.
I also should probably establish that I definitely couldn't sew a piece of clothing either. I can do anything with a teddy bear, but give me a top and I won't be able... No, maybe I could now. Trying and failing is the honest truth. It was through working out what needed to be done, following YouTube videos, building our own processes, and just giving it a go. I guess... So we have the kind of stuffy spa part of the business, and it was always a case of, before we can ever open that up properly, we have to have refined those skills. And we see like I said, every toy is different. That's the ultimate practice.
Yeah.
Like being faced with a totally different challenge, you know, the processes that we've kind of come across and the challenges we've faced in difficult fixes and like small restorations and things have just been incredible. And you know, we're all just working it out. None of us are experts in that craft or have come in and been hired because we are, apart from maybe someone in the US who's just she's an incredible restorer herself. When I found her, she has 1.5 million followers on TikTok herself through her stuffed animal restoration business. Yeah, Danielle, with Fluff Restoration. And yeah, we're just working it out. I kind of want to one day even have like some kind of course or qualification that we can set up.
Can you imagine going to university? What are you going to study? Just teddy restoration.
Oh my god, why not?
Weirder things have happened.
Why not? But that kind of like restoration angle, being able to study that in mainstream.
Yeah.
What do we have, like home economics, where they, I don't know, I don't think I ever did it.
No.
Like, there's nothing like that.
And I feel like everything, certainly from our upbringing and our education stuff, is always like new, isn't it? It's what can you make? Oh, this is how to make a tote bag. That's what I learned in textiles.
Why did we always need drawstring bags? I hated the drawstring bags. That was the only thing I ever learnt to sew at school.
I've never used one since I was in school. Imagine slinging one on your back nowadays and trotting down the street. Sorry if you do that, anybody, but where are you hiding? Yeah, and I feel like it's a shame that in our kind of growing up in the 90s, early noughties era, there wasn't that. It wasn't. We were never taught to restore or look after or fix even. It was always new. Here's an emery board, and I don't even know what that is.
That's an emery board. It's a nail file.
I'm thinking of the board that you make in electronics.
A motherboard.
Women in STEM, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, guys. But this is what clearly it fell on my deaf little ears, didn't it?
I think we've just emphasised the point.
I have exactly emphasised the point. You know, we weren't given a broken mobile phone and learn how to fix it. No. That would have been quite handy. We weren't taught to change a tyre even. It was just I feel like our generation has constantly just been brought up and been led to believe that there will be other people out there to fix it. You thankfully are that person, but you had to come up with that idea in the first place. I am so curious to know what that initial conversation was like with your husband-to-be. When you're like, brainwave.
I feel like in general our relationship works on me being like, I want to do this. I've got this insane idea, and him being like, okay. Yeah. Like, I'm listening.
Patient man.
Yeah, and you know, at the start it really was me, you know, packing orders through the night on our tiny little flat on the living room floor, and he'd kind of sit on the sofa and watch the telly and be like, this uni project, you know, is getting a bit far now, you know, but he wouldn't quite kind of fully engage with it. And then one day he sort of tapped me on the shoulder and said, you know, if I ever want to spend more time with you, am I going to need to jump into this? And so he did. And he's not a teddy bear person, you know. He has Ducky, which is his childhood best friend.
Is Ducky the one that's in there?
No, that's not, Ducky's not allowed here in case he gets mixed up.
Oh, can you imagine? That'd be a whole other story.
Nightmares. And yeah, he jumped in wholeheartedly, and he comes from, he's got a very engineering type brain. He's very mechanical and handsy, and he brought that wholeheartedly to it because there's been so much invention that's needed to happen to make this work, because the systems just don't exist. You should see the spreadsheets that sit under this business. They are incredible. And you know, that's all him. So he jumped in, but he does still look at me like that quite a lot. Like, oh, you're insane.
He's like, okay, 164, got it. Yeah. We'll make it happen.
Yes, the ultimate 164 guy.
And what do your families both think about what you do?
I mean, to be really honest, you know, our families are the type of families that will, you know, support us through literally anything we say we're going to do. Yeah. So I'm very lucky that, you know, my parents, you know, were there on the sofa with me talking things through and that kind of thing. Wider family, you know, I think people have kind of started in one place of like, oh, there's something to with like teddy bears, and then they see us on the news on their Facebook, you know, and they hear about us here and they look at us in the paper and they're like, oh wow, and then they engage with it on a different level. So I think when you kind of say it, and because there's a stigma around, oh, secondhand teddies, you must be selling a couple on eBay. It's so different from that. Actually, it takes a lot of explaining before you kind of get past the initial assumptions and presumptions that someone has.
Yeah.
We were having this conversation yesterday, actually, whereby people who are in very conventional careers typically, and nothing against people who are in very conventional careers, but they look at something that's slightly different. And it always starts with she's doing like the teddy bear thing.
Yes.
And it's always with the word thing, which has a bit of an undertone of like...
messing about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's phenomenal when that shift happens and they have that like, oh, okay, yes, I understand. Yeah. And that respect then follows.
Totally.
But that must be quite challenging when you're kind of having to come up against those sort of like raised eyebrows, teddy bear thing in those early days.
100%. I think that was the biggest battle. There was a point where only I believed in this. And there was a point where only me and one other person believed in it. And I've grown that to like quite literally millions of people.
Yeah. Right, 2.6 million on that one post.
But like that, and it still remains, a battle a lot of the time, kind of convincing people to believe in me or this or us. But at the start, that was tough. I was, known as the crazy teddy bear lady, and I still am. That was kind of like, that was it, and there wasn't any more space for explaining it, or no one believed in me. No one thought it could work. No one understood it. And you just have to blindly go, okay, I'm taking that energy and I'm going to turn it into something else, and I'm going to use it as rocket fuel.
I wonder as well how much we kind of had this conversation on the way, how much do you think of being a woman and having that like connection with bears and having that wanderlust, playful side to you, being so young when you started it as well? How much of the female's energy do you think was a part of launching the business and believing in it?
I think a hell of a lot. You can't separate it, but it also is such a superpower.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a woman, there are, when you're in business, there are big battles to be faced, and I felt that from day one, and I still face a lot of issues with that. But I think that it's far outweighed by the magic that women bring, and like you said, that softer side, and whether that's been natured or nurtured or whatever, is so powerful. But my favourite thing to happen is when I get this quite a lot actually, particularly on my Fluffy CEO account, where a fully grown man, often like a motorbike guy or something, will slide into my DMs and be like, I just wanted to let you know that I really love what you're doing, and I just had to admit that I've actually got a favourite teddy, and I sleep with it still every night. And and this is coming from like Gareth, the like Harley Davidson guy. I love that.
Wonderful.
And I think it's not that it's not there. But it's that it's not necessarily talked about.
And the other thing we were saying is that if this business had been about dolls,
yes,
it might have been less successful, partly because a big group of dolls can be quite scary.
Yes.
But also the other aspect of it is that teddy bears largely are less gendered toys.
Absolutely.
And so that universal appeal is such that Gareth, the motorbiker, is suddenly transported to being 4 and having his favourite bear and probably a little cry.
That's exactly it.
Powerful.
It's so universal. And it's not just... It's really interesting, actually, as we kind of develop across the world. We're really learning about the nuances, kind of culturally, that come with loving toys and using toys and relationships with toys and teddies. And I think the one thing that sits at the heart of that is that people truly believe they have souls. And I always say, actually, that it's because they wear the souls of the people that have loved them. And whether that's through floppy areas that have been held and hugged the most, you can pick up a toy and you can almost feel a soul because they've been channeled in so much love and memories and adventures, that how could they not? And they are real and come alive when you go to bed and stuff as well.
I remember there was one day when I'd gone to school and I'd tucked my bear into my bed, and when I came home from school, the bear had shifted to the other side of the bed. And I said to my mum, I was like, have you seen this? And she was like,
No.
But that is magic.
Magic.
And it's one of those things that I remember thinking about it when I was about 16, when I had that moment of like, oh, I understand what might have happened there. That was that was not fair. Coming alive whilst I was at school. You are clearly so motivated and just so full of ideas. And I imagine that there is a great long list of things that you would like to do over the next, 5 years or so. What's on your list?
Oh, so much. Just trying to work out live which things I can mention and which things I can't.
Yeah.
There's, of course, lots of kind of new launches and places that we want to be. We're really focusing on bringing this further and further across the globe. There are people that want to get involved in, bringing this to life in literally every corner, which is very exciting. So there's that. Beyond being in other people's stores, there's also the idea of having our own stores. Ooh. I cannot wait. We will have the most magical, experiential, like the best store that you've ever been in, where it will just like everything will come alive when you come inside, and we'll have kind of the spa up and running, and you could put your teddy on a little belt and it gets its own dressing gown and slippers and it goes off,
like
and you
build a bear, but just love the bear. Yeah.
Rebuild the bear.
Yeah.
All of that. I definitely think there's lots of opportunities in terms of books, watch this space, and film and kind of media and programs and things following this adventure, but also bringing to life all the adventures we have here.
Who would play you in the film?
Oh, great question.
Such a good question.
Maybe that's what Blake Lively was doing this morning, of being like, hey.
I will offer her an audition.
Yeah. What world are we in that this is even a conversation? It's mental, but so exciting.
I don't know.
Okay, Blake, if you're listening to Green Queens, which I know she's a big fan.
She is. She just can't help but she keeps reposting us. It's getting annoying.
Yeah.
I would be open to it.
Yeah.
I'll consider it.
But perhaps somebody English.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a little Keira Knightley. Maybe someone
Could
a bit
be Keira.
younger.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah.
We can chat about who'll play me later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, no, that's no problem.
And you kind of touched upon some of the struggles that you faced as a woman in business. It's something that we hear all the time. But if there is somebody listening that thinks that they have a problem that needs a solution, and they might also be able to come up with a solution, which is exactly what you did, but they are just banging their head against a brick wall and coming up against resistance, what would your advice be as somebody who has, I guess you're still going through it to an extent, but you have kind of come over the other side now and you have proved that this is something that will work and will grow?
Yeah, I think what I learned early on is that resistance it largely comes from voices, not actual tangible obstacles that are going to stop you.
Okay, interesting.
So if you can find ways of coping, because your biggest enemy is often yourself, because those voices build up inside you and they create that energy that makes you feel like you can't overcome things.
Yeah.
So finding the coping mechanisms, which, like I said earlier, turn kind of hate or barriers into rocket fuel, and you find your cheerleaders and you hold on to them and you learn how to harness that energy over any other. We at the start, investment wasn't an option for me. No one would want to listen, etc. And so I've always been my own investor, and that's meant working on the side and doing additional things. It's not a problem now. We get lots of offers. I was taken for breakfast by a very lovely billionaire a couple of months ago.
Oh my gosh.
I hope he got the bill. Or she, to be fair.
He did. And it was probably the best croissant I'll ever eat in my life. A very posh hotel. But, now I'm kind of like, fluff you. I don't, you weren't there at the start, so I don't need you now. And so it's largely a mindset thing, and it's finding the right cheerleaders. There are increasingly kind of women support type organisations out there now, surrounding yourself with other women who are doing the same thing. Entrepreneurs in general, I think that's a big thing, not being lonely through it, realising that your battles aren't just faced by you and that other people are going through these things and learning from them too. Well, so powerful.
It's very lucky that you've now been officially initiated into the Green Queens gang, of which we have many fabulous entrepreneurs and women and people.
And this was a happy accident as well. We didn't necessarily plan on this podcast being to interview women, but the longer we spent in the industry, the more we realised that most people doing amazing things just so happen to be women. And so it is incredible. The more we meet, the more we're like, you need to come on Green Queens.
Yeah, I love that. And women talk. Well, that's our biggest superpower, is we connect. and we talk and we chat and we spread that, and I think that's a huge power in business as well.
But also that's such a powerful message of, it's not actual obstacles, because if you're entrepreneurial enough, you will navigate those obstacles, but it's the voices, and I think that's such a useful thing to have in mind as well.
And don't get me wrong, there are some things around funding. If you're moving into Silicon Valley, that's a different level of investment that's needed, and there are genuine obstacles around that. But I think a big part of it is it's the voices and the energy and what you do with it.
It's a little bit of magic, it's a lot of belief, it's a hell of a lot of tenacity, and you've got quite a fabulous workforce. All these eyes looking at you. You couldn't not let this work, could you?
No,
for the bears.
That's it. Do you know what? On the tough days, sometimes I look around and I'm like, at the end of the day, it's teddy bears. You know? If it all gets too much, just hug loads. Bury yourself in a pile. And I mean, there are at the moment in my home, like 30,000 plus of them in my home. Yeah. So,
and how many do you have in like motion at any one time, do you think, at the moment? From spa to website to shipping?
Many that I genuinely we aren't able to currently kind of track and record that.
Really?
But tens and tens and tens of thousands, if not more.
And that is scratching the surface of the actual issue.
I'd also just love to say that if anyone broke into your house, they would probably run away, because they could be quite terrifying.
There is no space for any actual furniture or any thing of any value. We have a sofa, and the only place you can get any kind of respite is the bath, right? So good luck finding anything to steal, unless you're a real teddy bear person. But they would also be so terrified that they'd ran straight back out the other way.
But how exciting, because the scope for this just keep growing and for more bears to be saved.
And I suppose actually it means that there's also a lot of room for other organisations like yourself, because you cannot deal with the entirety of the problem.
Absolutely. And I think people are always saying, there are lots of people, and I've noticed particularly over the last year or two, who have kind of started their own thing, and some people are worried about stepping on toes. I truly believe in the mission, which is that we need to do something. And that involves, people doing it and addressing it, and that can't just be us, and it doesn't have to just be us. I like it when people use their own creativity to do it. That's for me, because I've kind of built this and put my soul into it. So I think just people putting their own spin on it, but the more the merrier. The big brands, toy brands out there aren't worried about other toy brands existing. Together we can really solve that problem. If we can get the second-hand brands, Love Before, household name, the most talked about. We're doing a 100 Days to Save Christmas campaign at the moment, where we're kind of posting out every day and putting the word out there. And it's to make us the most talked about toy brand this Christmas.
Excellent. I think more children in the UK should unwrap a Loved Before bear than anything else this Christmas.
So sure.
And if not this year, then definitely at some point between now and 2030, I believe that can happen.
God. Yeah.
Well, we will help and do our little bit by shouting your praises from this podcast.
And buying all your bears.
You can't go with more than you've come with.
That's very true. My husband might divorce me. I've got more. I feel like we're coming to the natural close. Do you want to end on the question?
Do you know what? So Abbie always teases me, because we do have a question that we ask at the end of the podcast, but then in my mind I'm like, I feel like I want to ask another logistics question.
Go for it.
Well, no, I will stick to the one. I will not ask about the inventory process of the 30,000 bears.
Feel free.
But what's the last sustainable thing that you did? It can be however big or small.
I have found that my mindset and behaviours around rescuing teddies is bleeding into other things. So I have found that I keep coming across things out in the wild and taking on that mother bear, I will take this into my nest and I will make it something new, which I absolutely don't have any time to do or ability to do either. The skills are not transferable from fixing teddies to grand pianos. So I'm just acquiring things. So I think that's probably one of them, is the little nest of
goodies.
Reloved goodies that I seem to be acquiring.
What's the weirdest one that you've acquired that you've been like, I'm not sure quite why I did this?
I'm actually not certain what it is. I'm going to call it a bathroom stand that I imagine you put towels on, that's freestanding, which I don't need because I have one of the ones that plugs into the wall.
Okay.
But I thought, yes, this could be something really special.
Okay.
Oh, I love this.
I don't actually know what it is.
Please never go on Facebook Marketplace because you will not come
I
away
have become a
unscathed.
Facebook marketplace.
I am Facebook Marketplace.
But I feel like in general I'm someone who kind of lives and breathes quite sustainably. I never think like I'm doing this sustainable
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
think like this is how I get my clothes.
Part of your life.
Yeah.
This is how I recycle. These are the products I choose. You
You're
know,
our
it's that
dream
kind of
girl
thing.
and our dream guest. What can I say?
Well, we probably should leave it there, especially because you have the biggest mountain of teddy bears that we've ever seen in our lives. But honestly, thank you so much for sharing your story.
you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for what you're doing.
Yeah.
It is just amazing.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
And we
Truly.
can't wait to see where this journey goes because
yeah.
she ain't stopping.
There's no stopping it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Green Queens.
If you did and you'd like to hear more, we'd be so very grateful if you could like,
Subscribe and join the Green group chat for weekly episodes.